Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. It's the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, we've been talking about the low inventory of homes and the high demand for homes in the area. Can buyers afford to be picky in this market? And what do home buyers want when they're purchasing a home?
Well, Richard, buyers are picky in this market. They know that homes are more expensive. They understand that. They know the rates are high. And a lot of them won't, even though it might look like a good buy on the surface, if the home needs updating, they will just pass it by. They are more critical than I've ever seen actually in my career. And you know what's changed with the whole digital with the whole digital age that's going on, where you've got social media, you've got people searching for homes on their smartphone, you've got AI, you've got plenty of information out there for both buyers and sellers to figure out, you know, what's important and what's not. Most home sellers kind of have limited either time or resource, or sometimes both. So if you're looking to sell, and you kind of need to know, what do buyers want? What improvements should I do on my home or not do? First of all, the buyer is the one that makes the decision, right? But some people don't need to do extensive rehabbing. Sometimes it's just a price issue, and sometimes it's very little that needs to be done to make it look nice. And I found a study that was done by HomeLight where they kind of did a research and interviewed some of the top agents in the country. At 98% of the agents are saying that there are very few bidding wars going on, which is true unless a home is underpriced. 92% of the buyers are pressuring the seller to lower their price or pay loan concessions. So like that story I told in the last segment about how they came in 35,000 low, and I had to prove that the market value was actually worth what the seller was asking in order to get them close to asking price. I think it's just kind of a perception out there in the industry that agents think that the market is soft, so they try to get a deal for their buyers. And then 53% of buyers are asking for inspection items. Just in December, I had a buyer that asked the seller to replace the roof for the sole reason that it was more than 10 years old. It was actually 10 years and 2 months old. And there wasn't anything wrong with the roof. We went out and got two roofers to take a look at it, and both of them said there's nothing wrong with the roof. So we went back to the buyer and said, hey, you need to find another insurance company. If that's their rule, that they won't insure a roof more than 10 years old, you got a problem, not the seller. So it worked out. We had to play hardball, and the buyers bought the house anyway. But overall, what do buyers want? So 92% of agents are saying that a kitchen is one of the best ways to appeal to today's buyer. But that doesn't necessarily mean a full-on remodel. Like I was in a kitchen last week where it wasn't bad, it wasn't glamorous. But what I saw, the thing that jumped out at me about this kitchen was that the hardware looked very dated, meaning that the drawer pulls and the cabinet pulls kind of had this color as well as this style that looked kind of like old country look. And sometimes just modernizing little things like that, in which you would spend less than $50 doing that, can make a huge difference. Another thing is kitchen appliances. Getting updated appliances really makes a difference, or having mismatched appliances makes a difference. Counters. So solid surface counters have been on trend for some time. The article talked about granite, but actually quartz is kind of number one in the buyer's mind right now. There's some beautiful granites and beautiful quartz out there, but you're going to spend about $4,000 doing that. Now, it depends on whether or not that counter is appropriate for the home. Like, is it enough to make it look fully updated? If you have broken Formica, yeah, you're going to have to do something, and it might not be that much more expensive to put in granite versus putting in new Formica. There are some Formicas that look like granite, by the way, that look pretty good. So it kind of depends on the price range of the home and what your competition looks at. I would look at both those things before you make that decision. And that's part of what we do. We sit down with home sellers and take a really hard look at what your competition is. What did recent homes that sold, what did they look like? And that will help you make that call. I had one client that just recently their home was updated, but it made the kitchen look small. So they actually built in an island where there wasn't one, and it looks amazing now. It's a huge transformation, just adding that one little workspace with a beautiful counter and added storage. Also added storage for kitchens or anywhere in the home is a benefit. So here's the thing. Most of the buyers start their search online. I don't really know what the numbers are. I've met people that are way older than me that use their cell phone just like the younger generation does. So I would say a majority of people are starting on the internet and they're deciding whether or not they're even going to bother to spend their gas money to drive by this property. And that's why it's so important why photos matter. Only 19% of buyers contact an agent first before looking online. The average buyer looks for about 8 weeks. And the thing that's interesting to me is the typical buyer right now only physically went in and viewed the home in person. So when I first started the industry back in the late 90s, a typical series of appointments with the buyer, you would look at 40 homes. That was average back then. I think my record was like 125 on my buyer's count. I wasn't counting. But now, because of the image quality and the advent of the internet, most of the buyers are doing their elimination right there on their cell phone. So you have to make sure that you hire the agent that knows how to create that online demand. There was a study done back in 2020 where they looked at how much time a typical buyer would spend looking at a home online. And it was actually less than 57 seconds, sometimes less than that if you don't get the pictures in the right order or there's something that they don't like that will make them move on. So this is the order, and this is kind of what they would like to see. The outside of the home. That's why curb appeal is so important. The backyard and the view. That's why the backyard is so important. The living room, the kitchen, the master bathroom, and the master bedroom, in that order. So that is why it's so important that you get somebody that can really help you highlight the best features of your home. And most buyers really don't need a huge home right now. Some of the most important things influencing their purchase are basically the neighborhood, convenient to friends and family. Some need convenience to jobs, but there are still a lot of people that are telecommuting, and then of course affordability. Most people are getting financing. That's why we have to look at the historic sales, because we have to substantiate to the appraiser that the home is worth the agreed upon sales price. And a lot of these buyers' sources of down payments are either savings from the sale of a home, or sometimes a smaller percentage will get a gift from family. So I think what a home seller needs to do in this market basically is to actually have their home prepared. And what a buyer needs to do is to make sure that they hire the agent that knows how to negotiate for them. I actually just met with a seller in the past week, and they told me when they bought the home, they had competition, and the price they paid looked pretty high compared to other sales around you. And so I was asking them, did you put this provision in did your agent put this provision in the contract about, okay, I'll pay so much over the competing offer, but you have to show it to me. Did you put that in there? And they go, no. And the wife goes, I didn't trust her anyway. So it's really important, either if you're a buyer or a seller, that you pick somebody that has not necessarily years in experience, but volume and sales. That way they know all these techniques in order to help you buy or sell a home in the best way. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program. And if you're interested in selling or buying, call Barb at 719-301-3900. And we're talking, Barb, about what buyers want in a home for 2024. What are some new trends that buyers want in a home 2024?
Well, I found this fun article online about what some of the interesting trends are right now. And I've noticed this with some of my sales that some buyers are actually looking for what they call an accessory dwelling, meaning they need a space where mother-in-law, family-in-law, adult children could live there, or kind of, set aside just a little bit. I had a listing a year ago that was in Monument that was kind of configured like that. So it had a main level that had a bedroom for grandpa, the upper level had a master, and the basement level had a couple of more bedrooms. It was really laid out perfectly for that. And it was fun to see the bidding more on that home, even when the market was somewhat compromised. They also really like 58% of the buyers like outdoor improvements, nice decks, nice patios, a grill area, outdoor TVs, anything like that. And it's a little bit hard to do that in this environment, but anything like that that makes the outdoor space pleasant, because a lot of people enjoy the outside around here. Finished basements are also important. Now, not everybody has a finished basement, so I would not go and finish a basement to sell the home. But a lot of people will use it finished or not for bonus game rooms, guest bedrooms, or added storage. The other thing that buyers are really looking for is energy efficient systems like smart thermostats, energy rated windows, energy efficient light bulbs, and solar systems. Now, the thing about solar is a lot of people think, okay, if I go out and put a solar system and I spend whatever it costs, 35,000, I might get a tax credit that the buyer's going to pay another 35,000 for the home. And I haven't seen the data to prove that. I've been into a few discussions with some of my sellers going, I put solar in, it must be worth another 35,000. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, it's all square footage. Solar is a nice to have. It's kind of a pleasant thing that buyers like, but they don't want to pay for it, but they like it if it's there. And I don't know if that makes sense, Richard, but
No, it totally does. I understand completely.
yeah, I saw a system actually last week. It was really nice. I mean, it had multiple on the ground panels and these beautiful storage batteries. It was almost a really squared away off the grid type property. But what he said to me is that system cost him over $100,000. And he goes, there's just no way it's really going to pay off. But I wanted it, because he could basically.
Yeah.
And another important factor to buyers is making sure that they trust the agent that they're working with. Because not every agent is the same. Not every agent knows how to help their buyers. It was funny when I was meeting with this couple. They're buying a home. They're trying to buy a home in another state, and so I was giving them tips on how to compete against this other buyer, and they got a big kick out of it. I'm not getting paid for it or anything, but it was just kind of fun to kind of overhear what their conversation was and go, ask the agent if she said this, and they really enjoyed it. So if you are thinking of making a move and you'd like to get tips on what to do and what not to do to command top dollar for your home, and then I'll go over all the similar sales, what your competition looks like, give you a really good idea what range your home will sell for and how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker, the host of the program, and Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making that move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, we'll be talking about how do you know what price your home will sell for and Barb's hot new listings as well. Stay tuned for those.